What's up, guys? This is Talkin Brash, episode 2. Today we got Tracy Byrd. He was in Blitzkid for a very, very, very long time. He's doing a Gathering of None now. Just a bunch of projects in between, too many to talk about. Tracy, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Summer is kind of wrapping up down here in Virginia. It's starting to, the nights are starting to be cooler, and luckily, we don't have near as many, coronavirus cases / deaths as a lot of places, and I think that's mostly due to the fact that it's so rural and so spread out down here. But so far so good, man. Knock on wood, everybody in my family are safe and healthy and happy, and just been trying to do as much music as possible while we've been quarantined and locked down and stuff. But everything's good, man. Just doing that, working out, doing a lot of cooking, stuff like that.
It's certainly a weird time in our lives, man. Of retrospective, and some people show a different side of them. Being locked down and being home has like fucked with some people, man.
Absolutely. There's only so much you can do, but behind the four walls you live in.
Yeah.
And you can only watch, so many shows. You can only read so many books. You can only, for example, you can only play so much guitar. You can only, try to write new demos for so long before you just start going stir crazy. And like sometimes we'll just go for drives just to get out of the freaking house. We'll just go for drives. Not have any destination in mind.
That's something I do a lot, just to clear my head. It's a place where you can do some thinking without being on your phone and seeing everyone else's opinion. You kind of get to form your own ideas when you're alone in the car, just blasting music maybe or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny to me how something that I personally took for granted, before all this happened. Now I'm like, dude, this is awesome. We're out of the house. We're just riding around. Especially down here, there's all kinds of beautiful mountain scenery and stuff like that to look at. So it just kind of, like you said, it just kind of clears your head, and you cuts through all the BS that's going on right now.
Where are you exactly right now?
I'm in Bluefield, back in Bluefield.
Okay.
Back where I was born and raised, yeah.
I feel like I've been lied to all my life, okay?
I know where this is going.
I feel like I've been lied to all my life. All my life, you guys were from West Virginia, but you're not.
Yeah, no, I mean, technically, no, we aren't, but technically we are as well, and I'll explain that as this. Basically, Bluefield is the state line between West Virginia, intersects literally like this.
Gotcha.
Through the town of Bluefield. So where I am right now.
Is that kind of like Kansas City, how that works, where it's in actual both states? It's in Missouri and it's also in Kansas?
Yes.
Got it.
Yes, exactly. And there's also, that also happens down in Bristol. There's a Bristol, Tennessee,
Tennessee,
Bristol, Virginia.
and
We used to joke. We used to play this place called 7th Street Cafe down there all the time in Bristol, Tennessee. And we used to joke because literally the state line was literally like if you put a physical marker on the state line for Bristol, Tennessee, Bristol, Virginia, it was literally down the middle of that street. So we would always joke and say, well, if we get too much crap, with cops or whatever, you just cross the street and we're in Virginia. You can't touch us over there, kind of thing, haha. But yeah, literally the state line intersects through Bluefield. So where I am in Bluefield, Virginia, I could drive literally 6-7 minutes and I'm in West Virginia. Bluefield, West Virginia. That's how close the state line intersects, and it's all through Bluefield. Like I go downtown Bluefield, Virginia, and I go past the post office. I go down the street, probably about another 1.5 miles, 1.75 miles. I'm in Bluefield, West Virginia.
Got it.
So that's why we always said, we're from West Virginia, because we kind of were.
Yeah.
Just down the street from it. So yeah, we're honestly, guys, not to shatter any dreams or anything, but we are technically from Virginia.
It kind of takes
sorry.
Kind of takes away.
Don't
I'm
shoot.
not gonna lie. It takes away the little bit of romanticism. West Virginia sounds.
It does, and I get it because it's we have the song about the Mothman,
right?
All that stuff, but yeah, I mean, we just kind of have always considered West Virginia home as well because we were so close.
Because it's right there.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, the more you know, right? This was news to me about, I don't know, a few months ago. I'm like, Oh, you're back in West Virginia. And Tracy's like, no, dude, I never lived in West Virginia. I'm like, what? Whole life's been a lie.
Just it's all a ruse.
Yeah,
it's all a ruse.
So before we go back to the beginning, there's also you have stuff going now. You and Goolsby were going to do a reunion tour. It's been postponed 85,000 times. On Monday, you guys announced that it's again postponed. What's going on with that?
Coronavirus is going on with that. As it is for most everybody that's tried to tour this year or had stuff planned earlier in the year, and now it's just kind of gone tits up. It's there's nothing we can do. I guess we could throw caution to the wind, or we could go out in October as planned, but I don't want to be responsible for getting anyone sick.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone else being responsible for getting me sick. And I see it every day around here. There's people. Yeah, there's masks and stuff that are worn, but when people are wearing them down here,
it makes no sense.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
Doesn't matter. It's like, don't even get me started on that.
Right.
But, it's just there's too much risk involved right now for the band and for the venues. So we just kind of said, okay, look, it's probably not going to be able to happen without 1,000 complications. So.
Now, is this postponed indefinitely, or is there already future dates that are marked on the calendar? Or are you not supposed to talk about that? What's going on?
We hope that we're able to go back out in May. That's when everything is rescheduled.
Right.
So we hope that we can go back out in May, and or I say back out. We hope that we can go out at all in May, because we tried twice now and it's not happening. I was joking with Goolsby the other day. I said, man, Blitzkid gets back together, and the world goes to shit. Like, that's what happens, It's our fault.
Yeah, back when this all started,
we were the catalyst last July, and everything just kind of snowballed.
When this all started, shifting over to the U.S., I was on an acoustic tour. So back when I was in a band, not anymore. Yep. We were thinking about, like, all right, in October we'll focus our shift. We'll shift our focus to October in the fall. If things are not better by then, we're really fucked, and we're really fucked.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
it's like,
and I know when I was working on those kinds of things that we had pushed everything off until the spring of 2021, and I was saying that we had tentative dates booked in August, but we knew damn well that wasn't going to happen. But at least we were prepared, just in case. Right. At least we, had the venues booked, because that's a big deal. Because venues, they were blocking off times for venues that if you weren't proactive and try to book venues in advance, there's a good shot that you're not going to fucking play any venues. If the chance was that you could play, you'd find yourself on the outside looking in.
Yeah, we ran into that, trying to reschedule for October even, because our booking agency were like, shout out to Shan and Dan. Our booking agents were like, yo, there's several venues blocking off time. So if we want to get this thing rebooked for you guys for October, give us the word, say the word, and let's get it started. So we said, yeah, absolutely. So now, cut to, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, they got in touch with us again, and we're like, so it's probably not going to happen in October either. So what do you guys think? What are you thinking for next year? And we said, well, let's just keep it as we originally had it. Let's go for April, May, of 2021. So,
and that's when everyone's doing it. I mean, everyone that I've seen, except Live Nation, is like, they're forecasting like they're never going to have live events again. but everyone in the industry that I know, like, they've all targeted the spring, which is why it's important to now start booking, go ahead and start booking out those venues, because you don't want to be on the outside looking in,
Exactly. That's why, when they said, well, when do you guys want to go out? We said, well, let's shoot for what we originally planned. Let's do the spring. And they said, yeah, everybody else is kind of doing that too. And I said, well, that means everybody will hopefully have a chance to go see a lot of live music around that time.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the venues too, like the outside looking in and all that thing. Just before I got on this call with you, I read an article about New York banning, as of right now, they didn't say for how long in the article, but they banned live music right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I know, and I don't know if that's going to carry over to like Jersey or PA or anything like that, but that's huge, man. Like, that's when something is banned. Like,
yeah,
that means you cannot do it. So
yeah.
I don't know what people
the
are.
situation up there is different. The circumstances revolving around North New Jersey, New York City, there's just so many fucking people there that they have to have different rules for those. Goolsby too in Connecticut, it's just jam packed with motherfuckers.
Yeah, everybody's on top of one another.
Yeah.
And I've had probably 4 or 5 people that I know personally that have now had COVID from up in that area.
Yeah.
They're okay now, but it's.
Yeah, I've had a couple of close friends as well from Jersey that have had COVID, and luckily it wasn't as serious for them as other people.
Yeah, it's a different animal up there because when they started, I knew it was getting serious, not only up there, but I knew it was getting serious in as far as like our country as a whole. I knew it was getting serious when they were saying they were like making makeshift hospitals up there for so many cases that they had and stuff like that. We're putting like bodies in box trucks, and just taking them away, and I was just like, wow, this is nuts.
It is pretty remarkable too how folks in the different parts of the country are just having a totally different experience. Like here in that, you've been to downtown Nashville, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Well, the honky tonk strip right there, like that's all back and thriving, and there's live music there, singer songwriters, cover bands and shit like that. It's going on as if nothing's happening. Like it's just a different world here.
It's terrifying to me, like that's like I would maybe go, but I'd be masked up and definitely try to keep my distance from people, and like I've literally eaten at a restaurant once since this whole thing started, and even then,
I've gotten things to go like curbside pickup and shit like that. I actually have not gone to a restaurant yet.
Well, the time that I did, dude, I was so uncomfortable and like felt like anything could go wrong at any given moment. I was like, I didn't enjoy it. You know what I mean? It's luckily, weird, I was all right.
But it's weird. You start looking at people like, does he got it? Is he the one that's gonna kill me or something? Like
everybody's suspect right now.
Yeah.
It's like I'm like, cool, man. Having dinner and everything. We're at our favorite Mexican place here in town, and and then like, after like 5 minutes after sitting down, I'm like, I don't like this. It's like I don't know, man. Why is that dude not wearing a mask? Why is that guy not wearing gloves? It just so skip it, man.
Weird times we're living in. Weird times. I don't know that I've never would have imagined that this would be my year ever.
Yeah. No, 2020 was looking a lot different for me at the beginning.
Right.
But now,
Me
here we
too.
are. I was like, all right, touring, gonna be like, that's gonna be my job this year.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Everything's all set. And then it's just like,
nope.
The universe was just like, nah, son. Not having. They DX'd me, man.
So, with the fall tour being postponed, that also means we'll just touch on it just to it's already out there. So, the Trioxin tribute thing, you were supposed to headline that, but circumstances are not allowing shit like that to happen, especially in North New Jersey, like we just said. Debonair's in Teaneck, New Jersey. I don't know if people know where that is, but that's fucking 10 minutes from Manhattan. It's not far. It was actually for a long time, Teaneck, New Jersey was ground zero for New Jersey. It was where the most cases were, and it's right there in the heart of all that. So, the circumstances just don't allow for a live gate and for anything like that. And that's where that was kind of being pushed. They're trying to still have a live gate, and it's you guys decided, which is the right call, I think, to listen. We can't responsibly do that. We don't want it this way. We prefer it to be this way. Will you do it like this? They said no, and you're like, well, we're out.
Yeah. Basically, I mean, look, I want to do Trioxin too, as much as any one of us do. But I don't think I think it could just be postponed till next year, man. At
Yeah.
this point, like stuff is just and people had such a great time at that first one, and there
Yeah.
was such a good vibe there, and it was so familial, and everybody was there was as much laughter as there was tears, and all that kind of stuff. So I think people would wait it out, man, and they would be fine with something just happening next summer.
Yeah.
Um, for me, like responsibly, not only for myself, but for two other guys that I play music with, as far as Blitzkid goes, responsibly, I couldn't say, yeah, man, we'll go up to New Jersey where there are, we'll drive up north where there may or may not be like even more stringent travel restrictions,
Yeah.
and we'll go to this venue where there's going to be a max of 50 people allowed. But if you're talking about five, six, seven bands, even that small number of bands, that small number of bands are going to be 50 more people.
Right. Yeah. That
And that's
50
going to
doubles right there.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
going to exceed the cap. And not for nothing, I love the idea of trying to get something going, even with just 50 people. But 50 people at a venue like Debonair that can hold what, like 500 people,
Yeah.
350, whatever it is. 50 people at a venue like Debonair where they're 6 feet apart. There's no vibe.
There's no vibe.
There's
Yeah.
no vibe in that.
It's
Like
just more like a VIP experience at that point.
yeah, exactly, and that's fine. And I'm sure people would pay it, but why would those people go up there, who are they're you know as well as I do, some people are going to be traveling out of state for that. If they go, what happens if they get up there,
Yeah.
somebody gets sick? What happens if when they get back someone gets sick? Then it's a liability for the venue, it's a liability for the show promoters, it's a liability to the bands. So we said, look, we're just not going to do it. And Ghouls and I were talking, and we said, look, we've decided we're not going to do the Trioxin thing, no matter how they play it. But why don't we try to do our own thing on Halloween? Not to take away anything from Trioxin too, man. I love everybody involved. So does Steve. And
Yeah.
it's just
They're all
one of
our
those-
best friends. You know what I mean? Like, of course.
Yeah. But I've known all those except for Sean, whom I met 2 years ago,
Right.
because through Jason passing on, and Sean's a great friend now too.
Yeah.
But everybody that's involved I've known pretty much most of my adult life at this point. So it's not a slight toward them or anything. It's just we started kicking around the idea. Well, let's maybe just do our own, and Ghouls works with Cortland there at the Witch's Dungeon
Right.
in Connecticut, and so we were like, Cortland was the person actually that mentioned to Ghouls. He said, well, if you guys are doing that, why don't you have it here? So here we are. We're at we have a awesome like horror museum basically with original costumes and original effects from like stuff like Creature from the Black Lagoon, et cetera, et cetera. And we're like, that would be freaking perfect. So, we said, yeah, let's do that. And I think us doing it this way, because like I don't know what's going on with Trioxin 2. I don't know if it's still happening or if they're
Right.
just gonna scrap it until next summer or what.
I think that's probably the right move now.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a way for us to still do something on Halloween.
Yeah.
And again, it wasn't to slight anyone. It wasn't to slight anybody that was playing Trioxin 2 or the people that were organizing that or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just we felt like, if we could do something on our own that we could control entirely and ensure that we would do it as safely as possible. Not that Trioxin 2 wouldn't be, but if we had the ball,
Yeah.
we could run with it the way we saw fit. So that's the only reason. And I just want to play, dude. Like I'm so excited to be, even though it's just going to be like a filmed and like pre-recorded thing, I'm probably going to break something. Like I'm so ready to play right now, and we had to cancel
Listen,
Aegon.
I'll go up there. I'll quarantine for 14 days before you guys play that show, and I'll be there manning a camera or something.
It's it's because it's like this year has been like it's so funny because I think a few weeks or maybe a couple of months now back I had written up something on Facebook about how when I first started a Gathering of None, my main goal was to play 20 shows a year. You probably know that as
Yeah.
you were going to be on guitar at one point. And I said, okay, I want to do 20 shows a year with a Gathering of None because that's all I want to do. Because at that point, I was just coming out of Blitzkid. We had toured nonstop for like 10 years.
Right.
So I'm like, nah, 20 shows a year is fine. And, so then cut to a Gathering of None becomes more than just me, and we actually become a band. But the guys in the band all have really killer jobs, and they have really, really awesome wives and really awesome kids that they can't, be away from for that long.
Damn those wives and kids.
So, dream lineup, but, as circumstances are, we can't go out that much.
Right.
So, 2016, we finally debuted live. 2017, I think we did like a short run of 5 shows. 2018, we did a week, and we did a few things in 2019. Mostly 2019, we just recorded, got together, recorded, and this year we put out the new EP, and we had dates booked for Texas in March, like a 4 or 5 day thing, whatever it was. Then we had the Blitzkid thing that was coming up in April, and within like a matter of 3 weeks, like most of those things were done.
Right.
Like, well, what do you do now? So
brutal, man.
But I don't know but yeah, like I'm so ready to play live, and even though it's gonna be like filmed and not technically, I mean it'll be us playing live, but
yeah,
it's not. There won't be a crowd, whatever. It's still gonna be fun.
What kind of production are you guys planning on? Like, are we doing like a pro shot?
Oh yeah,
a thing
yeah,
on
it's
a
gonna
stage? Like how what are we looking forward to there?
What's happening is what's going on with that live stream is we're gonna there are gonna be 2 tour guides that take you through the actual museum, like a guided tour of the museum. That takes about 20 minutes,
right?
And then it ends. The actual tour, when they do it with people in there, actually ends in the main ballroom area of this museum. So when they go to the main ballroom to end the tour, surprise, there's Blitzkid, and we're gonna play, and there's gonna be lighting and multiple camera angles and all kinds of props, cool stuff. So
cool.
It'll definitely be worthy of Halloween.
Fuck yeah, man, that's awesome. It's a good idea. In fact, I talk to Sean a lot. We've had sidebars and things like that. And my idea for him, which he didn't think it would work out monetarily, because there is a lot. People don't realize. It's easy to say, well, we'll live stream it. But there's a lot of logistics and like costs that go into even just live streaming.
There are.
Hiring a competent film crew to, getting, the technology there to actually have a powerful enough stream to go out live where it doesn't look and sound like shit. To, people helping you out with probably rented gear because you're not going to have a bunch of bands. So it would have been a lot of work. And he didn't think he'd be able to recover for all the logistics for the live stream. And like the Trioxin tribute stuff was there to honor Jason and help the family out. And I could see his point where you don't want to see anyone go out of pocket to do a live stream, and then then you're out all this fucking money. No one wants that either.
For sure.
So he was stuck. I could see why he wanted the live gate. It would have made it possible, but it's just, you're right. Like, it's just the responsibility of having that on you. It's better off doing it like the way you guys are going to do it, and that's just that's it.
Yeah, I mean, as it stands, there can't be more than, because that place actually does a great business for the town that it's in up in Connecticut.
Yeah.
So they're going to be open for Halloween season. So, before they open, we're gonna film this, and it's great because as soon as we got the building locked down and Cortland and the people on the board of the town and everybody said, yeah, they can do that there. That's fine. There's going to be the three of us. There's going to be 2 tour guides. There's going to be Cortland himself. There's going to be his lighting guy that, lights up all the exhibits and stuff in the museum.
Right.
There's going to be Sean from SRG Studios.
Is Goolsby going to be like narrating the tour? Like, you know how he gets. Is he going to narrate the whole?
No, they're gonna the tour guides are just gonna take you through and narrate it as they go through the museum, and then, like I said, in our last exhibit,
right,
and it'll be
us. Because I could just see Goolsby doing something like, "This is the Duke of Hartford, and once when he was 5, he fell down a well, and he was stuck down the well for a week and a half." I could just see him narrating the whole tour.
Oh, I could too, because he gets so into like the little nuances and all the aspects of that stuff, and the lore of certain things, if you will. He would be perfect to do it, but being as we're playing, we just said, okay, well, we'll just have the two tour guides that normally will be doing the tours,
right,
narrate it and whatnot. So what also is cool though is Sean from SRG Studios, where you have recorded, Blitzkid's recorded, Crypt Keeper 5 records.
Is he going to
Sean
be?
Is bringing up.
He's going to be the engineer for that.
Some outboard gear, yeah. He's bringing up some outboard gear. He's going to do the sound. So
good.
And the coolest thing about it is once that live stream once it's broadcast over anywhereseat.com on Halloween, immediately following, whoever watching it, you'll be provided a link to go purchase a CD DVD combo of it. So
cool.
Yeah.
Badass. That's the way to go.
Yeah, I think it'll be good, man. I didn't want to, neither one of us, Goolsby or myself, neither one of us were going, I don't want to do Trioxin 2. It's not that at all. It's just, I think doing it this way will be better, and it'll be safer, and we can control every aspect of it. Not that we need to control every aspect of things, but within our band, we can control how it's going to be run.
Are you going to do a rehearsal live stream? Because in my experience, a lot of things can go wrong when you're trying to live stream. So are you guys gonna do like a rehearsal of sorts with like at least like mixing and the cameras or anything like that, or are you just like you're just going on there and that's that?
Oh yeah, we'll probably do some trial runs before we just say okay, go, cameras are rolling.
Right.
And to be honest with you, given the fact that it is pre-recorded and that we're being transparent about that, it gives us a chance to go, okay, well, that song kind of sucked. Let's do it again. you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's not my chair's super squeaky. I apologize. It's not a matter of, just kind of turning the cameras on and going, all right, go.
Right. Okay. So so it'll be a bit rehearsed and
yeah. It'll be, it'll be predetermined for all the wrestling fans out there.
That's gotta suck if you suck during the song. No, we gotta do it again, guys.
I know.
You're right. That's like a live taping of NXT. I mean, like a pre-recorded taping of NXT where they botch a spot.
Yep.
Nah, dude, we got to go back and do that spot over again. That sucked.
Send them back out there.
All right.
Yeah, and that almost because I know a lot of times, in the music industry, people say, "Oh, it's live without a net." Live with a net is a lot more scarier to me. It's like you said, like you don't want to be the guy to go, I screwed up a lot on that one. Let's do it over.
And what really sucks is if they're like, if it is pre-recorded and you still fuck up and that goes out.
Yeah, exactly. And I am a fairly sloppy guitar player.
Are you a perfectionist as far as recording? Like when you're in the studio, does small things bother you?
Not so much.
Okay.
I mean, they will after the fact. Like, right. I don't notice the small things as they're happening, but like I'll hear them after everything's like we'll have finished product in hand. I'll be listening to it and go, well, what happened right there? I won't hear it at the time because in the studio, dude, the guys from A Gathering of None can vouch for this as well. Goolsby can too. But
Right.
in the studio, I'm a nightmare, man. I'm just like, all right, one take. That's cool. Let's go. Do the next one. You know, like, it sounds fine. Let's go. You know, like I can't.
Why is
stand.
this?
Yeah, it just seems less spontaneous to me, you know.
Right.
And I know that some things can't be spontaneous in the studio, stuff
That's
like
the
that.
purpose of recording, you know, Tracy.
Yeah, I know. I know it's a complete contradiction as to what recording should be, you know. But you know, for me, like, I just hate sitting around, man, and like waiting to do my turn or waiting to do my parts, or you know, and the guys from Aegon, you know, God love them, but Chris and Ken and Jeff and Justin will, you know, they'll come up with like 12 different ideas for the song as we're tracking.
Yeah,
So
see,
then
that's where, yeah.
Then we got to track those.
Right.
You
See,
know?
that's kind of where like I try to do as much pre-production as possible before the studio, because time is money at the studio. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you're coming up with all these great new ideas, but like we're fucking
Right.
on the clock. You know what I'm saying? So
Well, see, that's where we kind of benefit, and we can actually, you know, go ahead and throw that stuff on because our bass player has a studio.
nice,
So
nice.
and Justin's an audio engineer. He records and mixes and produces us. So, you know.
So what, you guys get
working-
together at your bass player's house? Like you all
Yeah.
convene there? Yeah.
We all convene there. We record the drums in the main live room down in the basement. And then the next room over is the control room. We do guitars in there. You know, after Chris's drums are done, we move the drums out of the live rooms. We start, you know, bass amp's already in there. We just mic that up. He does bass tracks. Then most of the time, guitar tracks in there as well. And then we'll either do vocals in that live room or do them just right in the control room.
Right
And for nothing. So, you know, that you know, I think I'm just an impatient person by nature. And you know, the studio for me is cool, you know, because when stuff's able to be added and you can hear it, and like you can hear all the layers and everything, it sounds great, you know. And it like literally has moved me to tears a couple times. But you know, to do it, like for me, like I'm just like, especially, I mean, you probably remember like when I was sending you demos for Aegon stuff,
Right.
you'd be like, oh, you don't want to add anything to this? I'm like, no, it's done. You know? I'm like, no, it's cool. It's cool the way it is. You know, I just, you know, I don't, and it's that whole like, you know, 1, 2, 3, go, punk rock
Right.
thing that ingrained in me, where, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Let's just do it. You know, whereas, you know, a Gathering of Nuns music is a little bit more involved and a little bit more complex. So
Yeah.
it kind of have to be perfect. So,
a
and
lot
I know
more layers.
that, but yeah, and I know that, but when I go in the studio and like we're just working and we're working on something and we're working on something, I'm just like, oh God, you know. And like the rest of the guys are looking at me like, it's gonna sound good, man. I'm like, yeah, I know. Spend 4 hours, but you know.
You know,
No,
I used to be a bit more impatient, but what stopped me from doing that was learning how to track myself.
Yeah.
Like just going through the process of like being my own engineer and learning how to be an engineer.
Right.
That changed that in me.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and I can say that's probably, you know, helped me a little bit as well, because I'm nowhere near as bad as I used to be about stuff like that. But you know, because here, like at home, like when I'm recording demos at home or whatever, I'm like sometimes 4 or 5 hours working on one song, you know, or working on one idea, and then I'll come up with another idea and put it over top of it, or, you know, like it's so, because it's funny to me that I'm all right doing it by myself, but when there's a group of us doing it, I'm just like, come on, let's go, hurry up, you know. And everybody, you know, and like, I don't know, I just lack patience in the studio. I really do.
Yeah.
Unless I'm here by myself, and then I'm like, yeah, I've been working on this for 6 hours, no big deal. I don't know, just one of those things, you know. I think it's the fact that it's not the comforts of home, you know. It's very comfortable at Ken's, you know, don't get me wrong, it's super nice there, but I think it's not the comforts of home, and that there's four other voices aside from your own. And
I was just about to ask you, are you one of those guys that want to be alone when you're doing your own tracking, like, or like, do you care that everyone's just fucking listening to every fucking second of everything you're doing?
Well, I used to be, but with the Gathering of None, we've been fortunate that we've rehearsed the songs so much on our own at that point. By the time we get to the studio, everybody's kind of like got them down, and
Right.
so it's not a. The only time I'm like that is if I'm doing a particularly like demanding vocal, and and at times I'll be like, all right, man,
Right.
give me some space here, But most of the time, no, I don't care who's in the room. It's one of those, like I said, it's just one of those things where we're so rehearsed on the material at that point, individually, that it's just kind of like, whatever, you can stay in here, that's fine, you know. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's just sort of those things for me. Like the studio brings out my impatience.
Right.
A lot.
Totally.
A
I
lot.
get it. I get it. And it's an impatience with yourself, right? It's not. It's more of that because I feel that I don't when other people are tracking, I'm very patient. But when it's myself, I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like,
I know, because it goes back to the we're our own worst critics, and for me especially, on guitar, if I'm like tracking guitar, and nine times out of ten it's a part that I wrote, and I'm screwing it
right?
up a lot. I'm
Like,
just like,
how am I
what's going
screwing this
on?
up?
I wrote this, but I don't know, but it's a lot. I'm a lot better about it than I was.
Right.
I would say over the last couple of years I've gotten a lot more, a lot less impatient, I should say. But yeah, that's the thing. I think the biggest person that it manifests in is when I'm doing something, because I'm like, man, I should, because I'm super hard on myself. I'm like, man, I should know this song, or man, I should be able to hit this note, no problem. What's going on? Just
So
second
yeah,
guess.
that's the question. Are you harder on yourself singing or playing guitar?
Uh, for Gathering of None, singing, because it's a completely different animal than singing in Blitzkid. Not that singing in Blitzkid is easy by
Right.
any means, because there's some up there notes in those songs too. And we've never been a band where we did lots of shouting in key, or
Yeah.
Tom Araya type vocals or anything like that. We always sang, and I think if you listen to Blitzkid from Revisited to um, Five Stars Below, you could definitely hear the maturation of mine and Goolsby's
Definitely
voices.
both. Yeah, definitely both. And more so him because I feel like he wasn't really showcasing his voice and his singing voice like he did on Five Sellers Below. He was more the shouty,
Absolutely.
screamy kind of dude.
Yep.
You've always been the melody guy, right, with a great voice, and he kind of matured into that. And I think Five Sellers Below was definitely a maturity bump on both your parts.
I think so too. That album for me, you know, even though I didn't have a lot of songs on it, the songs that I had on it, you know, and not to sound like arrogant or anything like that, but the songs that I had on that record were so good, there didn't need to be a ton of them. And the same for him. Like, he had a ton of songs on that record, but they were all so good that it was just, and we did so many different things on that album. Like, Carve Out a Heart is basically our November Rain.
Right.
We used freaking deer antlers on the trunk, the acoustic version, all kinds of stupid shit, like, just experimenting, man. Like, that album was for us, like, it was the light bulb where, we kind of went like, wait, we have the money this time around,
Right.
and we have the time. So why don't we try to do everything that we're hearing for these songs? And it was cool. And I think that's why that album, for a lot of people, they say it's their favorite one of ours, because there's so many different vibes on that album. You go from the punk stuff to the Saturday Night Drive-In with the saxophone for the Starlight Decay, and the November Rain for Carve Out a Heart, and the Doors meets 311 meets Rancid on the Vanishing Riders,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
And a song that I always made you fucking yelled at you guys to play, always
Lady.
fucking Lady in the Lake.
The most difficult song for me to sing on that album. Thanks, Carlos. No, if you notice, like, if you ever heard the isolated vocal tracks, especially for that song, I was coming down with a cold when I recorded the vocals for that song. So
Oh,
like
really?
the super high harmonies on that song, they sound very isolated. They sound very labored. They sound very like, oh, he's trying on that one. You know, like he's reaching. He's trying to hit that as best he can. But it's cool because the fact that they were so raspy, once they were mixed, you really couldn't tell, and they kind of added to the song's overall vibes. Squeak by on that one. But yeah, I was totally getting a cold when I recorded the vocals for that one.
You know what else happened on that record? Was you guys matured as vocalists and musicians, but the production quality also went up considerably.
Yeah.
It wasn't perfect production. You go back and listen to it and you're like, there's bottom heavy here. There's stuff going on in there, but from where you were, it was a big jump up, I thought.
Oh God, from Trace of a Stranger, which I don't know how that happened, but Trace of a Stranger sounded awesome in the studio that we recorded in Reel to Reel Studios with Rick Craniac and in Blacksburg, Virginia. That sounded great in the control room. And then we got like final mix of it. And I don't know if it could be, I don't think it was Rick's fault. I think it was just kind of attributed to us still kind of not knowing what we were doing in the studio at that time. Because that was only our third full length, fourth release overall. And, I think we were still kind of young enough to where we kind of weren't, really paying attention and really didn't know like what we wanted in the studio. So to us, and as you said earlier, time is money. To us at the time, it's like, okay, well, yeah, that's good, cool, yeah, we're done, And then we got it back and we listened to it after it was mastered, and we're just like, and not really so much the guitars or the vocals or the bass, bass tones or anything like, but the snare drum on that record on Trace of Stranger is I almost equate it to like being as annoying as Saint Anger, like that snare, because it just sounds like a trash can kind of. Right. And I don't know how it happened because in the studio, in the control room, on the studio monitors, it sounded great. But then, so I don't know if something happened in the EQ or in the mixing, and we got that back, and it was just like, oh, this sounded way better in the studio. But and like I said, I don't think that was attributed to Rick either. I think it was just we were trying to get out of there, get out of there in a hurry because our money was running out. And with 5 Cellars Below, we had like. God, we took from April of 2005 until I want to say nearly a year. Nearly a year it took to complete that record because
where was the biggest
reason. What's that?
Where was that? Was that with Sean or no?
That was not with Sean. That was at the now defunct SS Sound Studios in Square, where Crypt Keeper recorded, where Over Your Dead Body was recorded with this guy named Bailey.
I remember.
So yeah, we did it there, and the great thing about that was we weren't really playing a lot of live shows at that point because it was this weird time in the band where we had just lost Troy as our drummer, Ray M. And we had just picked up Stripes, Jesco, as our drummer. So, and it wasn't that we didn't feel like Stripes was, unqualified or whatnot. We had just never worked with him in the studio.
Right.
So we didn't know if we could record with him just yet. We were kind of still like feeling things out, making sure that we were going to work with him live and that he was going to be, someone that wasn't going to dip out on us in 2 weeks.
And plus, it probably didn't help Stripes that we were all vouching for Paulie.
Yeah, exactly.
Like every single one of it, like whether it's me, Jason, Joe, like our whole crew would be like, yeah, Paulie's your man.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we got together with Paul and we literally rehearsed. No word of a lie, man. We rehearsed for 2 nights at Johnny Ott's house down in this basement. And then we started recording on day 3. And Paul, if I'm not mistaken, because there's 16 tracks on that record, Paul, if I'm not mistaken, laid down like I think all of them that day.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's nuts, man.
He's a beast. He's a beast.
Yeah, he's insane. So so I mean, it wasn't a matter of we didn't think Stripes could do it, or it wasn't we didn't have any confidence in his abilities or anything like that. It was just we were still trying to fill the situation out. We were a little gun shy at that point.
Right.
We were kind of like, well, this is like our sixth drummer now, so we were kind of like wanting to break it in kind of easily, and you know, we had already spoken to Paul before Stripes had officially become a member of the band, and we said, man, we should, you should drum on our next record. So before Stripes was even officially in the band, that was kind of already being talked about the way it was going to go, and we told him, and he was obviously not too happy because he felt like he was, being denied his chance
Right.
to prove himself and whatnot. And we, go prove yourself later.
Yeah.
This has already kind of been in the works. No disrespect to you, but this is how it's going to go for now. But yeah, and like hearing those songs back, and the fact that we had Paul, and the fact that we had like nearly a year to fine tune some of those songs as we recorded them, we were adding stuff to them all the time. So that's why I think the production value had increased.
Yeah.
Like you said, considerably.
And I just want to bring up,
Tracy.
ladies and gentlemen, that this is a guy who just told us he was impatient in the studio, and they took a fucking year to record this record.
No, listen. The reason being, though, good point. But the reason being is because when we initially we had all the basic instruments done, right? And we kind of wanted to, we wanted to record with George over in New York at Planet Grey.
Serpentines?
Yeah. So because we thought, at Jason's behest, actually, right. He said, dude, you guys should go do your vocal tracks with George because he gets the best out of people, So we said, well, there's definitely some, more stuff going on vocally than either one of us have done at this point on this record. So let's do that. So we booked the time with George, and this was still around the time to give you an idea, young timers, about how long ago this was, even though it was only 15 years ago. There were still things like being recorded to DAT and stuff like that. So, which DAT tapes, again, young timers, DAT tapes are basically like VHS tapes that recorded audio at the time for studio consoles, and you transferred that audio digitally to get final product. Well,
much cheaper than the reel-to-reel. Which is why that happened.
Yeah, exactly. It was a more cost-effective way to do things still kind of on tape, because that stands for digital audio tape again, guys. But so what happens is we go to George and we record the vocals, and we wanted to do a song with Chris on drums, which was 5 Cellars Below, the title track. So we recorded that song in Tennessee, and we said, we don't know when we're going to be getting back up to New Jersey. So let's we'll record 5 Cellars Below there. And we recorded that song. That was fine. And then, so we get the tapes transferred over to Bailey from George. Well, the transfer rate was wrong. And, so Steve and I sounded like this on every song.
Damn.
And so, while we're in Tennessee at Mike Stevenson's studio, which is Classic Recording Studios in Bristol, while we're down there, we say, hey, dude, while we're here, we know it's going to be, probably a couple more days or whatnot. But can we record the vocals here? And he goes, oh, yeah, sure. How many songs? And we're like, 16. So we had to record all of the vocals from scratch, from the start. And we got them done. Like I said, I think it was maybe 2.5 days. We both did 16 songs in 2.5 days. All the backups, all the harmonies, all the lead vocals. something
Because I think
crazy.
that record was also, you guys stepped up the layers of your harmonies too. Like you guys
Yeah.
were always doing stuff like that, but that record really was stepped up for sure.
Yeah, we definitely went more King's X, Bad Religion,
Yeah.
3-4 part stuff than just me harmonizing over Steve or him harmonizing over me or under me or whatnot. So it was just one of those things where I don't know what it was about that time in the band, but we just felt like we had taken like the the typical like 3-4 chord punk horror punk kind of thing. We reached our zenith with that, and we kind of wanted to experiment a little bit more and see what we could do. And I mean, for Christ's sake, there's a song on Demon Machine on there, which could basically have been a Motorhead song,
Right.
A Drop D Motorhead song. So I don't know. It's just one of those things where we just had all this such diverse material, and I think that album really kind of, choose my words carefully here. I think that album for Blitzkid, as far as the band Blitzkid, I think that album kind of showed that we could, transcend horror punk.
Yeah,
and we could be.
I agree. And I think it's important. I think it's important for people to aspire to do that. Like it's
absolutely.
Like there's more. There's levels. There's levels to the game. You know what I mean? And like yes, CAFG. It's cool, catchy. We could do a lot of things with it, but when you want to be the next level, you have to be diverse.
Yeah. And that's I tell every band that gets in touch with me that are part of this genre, and I try to do it as nicely as possible. But I'm like, don't be a carbon copy, man. Don't be a carbon copy, dude. Everybody's heard that. Everybody's heard the Danzig Misfits at this point. Everybody's heard the Graves Misfits at this point. Everybody's heard Blitzkid at this point. Everybody's heard Mr. Monster at this point. It's great if you take inspiration from those bands. That's fine, but don't just rewrite Scream and put different lyrics over it, or write a song that sounds a lot like Scream and put
We've all been guilty of it. All right.
What's that?
We've all been guilty of that.
Oh, of course, of course, dude. And it's funny that I mentioned Scream because if you go back and listen to Terrifying Tales, our first full length song of the Howling,
right,
is absolutely the same verse chord. So we did it too, man. So
right.
It's one of those things. It's just one of those things where we just kind of were confident, I think, enough at that point because you're talking 2006. We'd been a band for 9 years at that point already. So we're like, okay, I think it's time that we kind of try some different things and, do what we feel like we're capable of instead of just kind of resting on laurels. And that's another reason why it took better part of a year to record because, we'd never done that before. And, as when you take on something that's so multi-layered and so, has so many aspects of so many different genres or what have you, you got to spend time on it, man. Yep. Because you're not only like unsure of the parts, you're second guessing yourself. You're second guessing just the idea of this song that you wrote that you're not sure people are going to like.
Yeah, you're second guessing your whole existence there. You're like,
yeah, man.
Should we even be a band anymore? That's fucking stupid.
Right. And like, dude, listen, like, and the thing was, and like, God love him, but we've always said between myself and Goolsby, I see in more concrete ways of songwriting. He sees the abstract.
Definitely.
So for me, I'm like, okay, guitar, bass, drums, some guitar stuff here and there, some overdubs, some cool vocals, done. That's my MO.
Yeah. He hears the raindrops falling, the thunder rolling in, the fucking wind fucking brushing against the high grass, like
exactly. The church bells,
right.
Like, so you can imagine me still having that, like, bing bang boom wham bam thank you ma'am, it's done song. You can imagine my jaw like hitting the floor when he's like, man, I think I want to put bagpipes and a sitar on As the Rope Bridge Sways. And I'm like, what? I'm like, how is that gonna work, dude? And like, and sure enough, he sat with me and he explained it to me and was like, well, here's what I'm thinking, because he can play both of those things, because Goolsby's like, jack of all trades, master of none.
Right,
The
he's a
dude can
weird
play
creature.
like
He's
37 instruments.
Yeah.
but has never taken lessons on any of them,
Right.
which is frustrating. But so he actually whips out his bagpipes and he's playing me what he hears, and he's playing on his sitar that he ordered from India back when we first met one another. So he's playing both parts, and I'm just like, all right, I get it now.
Right.
Okay, it makes sense now. But just to hear that, outright, I'm just like, what do you mean sitar and fucking bagpipes? What are you talking about? And same thing with the trunk. He's like, man, I got these deer antlers that I'm going to be clacking against one another, kind of like percussion, and I'm just like, all right.
Is there any like video of like production videos of like you guys fucking around with deer antlers?
I'm sure there are. I'm sure. I haven't because like he's got archive footage from like when we started, like back in '97, and up till when we stopped in 2012. So he's probably got something here or there that's probably got. I don't know if there's any antlers or any, but I distinctly remember like somebody recording him for himself, right, because he wanted to document it. I forget who it was. It might have been Jason, might have been Christine Kramer or whoever, one of the Crypt Keeper 5 guys, whatever. But I distinctly remember someone videoing him doing the sitar parts for as great. The rope bridge sways, which was next because that was Anatomy of Reanimation. That was a re-recording, but it was just one of those things where he's describing to back to 5 Cellars Below, when he's describing what he hears in Vanishing Riders, he's like, I almost hear like some surf guitar, like 311, or like kind of like some island kind of reggae-ish kind of lead underneath the guitar riff. So I sat with that song for like 3-4 days, because we had demoed it, and I come up with all this, noodly sounding, like literal, like wind in your hair, like top down, kind of driving down the beach, kind of guitar stuff.
Right.
And like if my guitar could have been like a Dan Electro, like Seafoam green, it would have been perfect. But so, and I'm like, well, what do you think of this? And he's just like, dude, that's it. Yes, that's it. And I'm like, all right, cool. You said you wanted like 311 kind of island sounding, so that's what we did.
Perfect.
I don't know, but yeah, like Jason was a big part of that album too.
Right.
Jason played guitar on about 7 or 8 of the songs, tracked guitars to him, and Jason actually brought in a lot of ideas to as far as production for that album too. He actually was the person that convinced me to do the little harmonized lead there at the beginning of Carve Out a Heart. He was actually the person that convinced me to do that super high, like metal scream at the beginning of Demon Machine.
Right.
And he actually had some comments on the arrangement of that song too. So yeah, Jason, so there was a couple of things that he did. He suggested for Genus Unknown, Starlight Decay. Jason's footprint was all over that album, which I thought was cool because, us and Mr. Monster were basically, sister bands.
Well, it's a good segue to what I'm about to bring up then, because yesterday I had Joe on. We talked 2 hours of like the genesis of mine and Joe's relationship, but that kind of coincides with me meeting Jason and what we were in a band called Angel Sin, and how that morphed. He left and started Mr. Monster, so we kind of did all that with Joe yesterday. I want your perspective of, fucking horror punk community is a small place. So when you find someone from West Virginia, or in your case, there's these dudes from New Jersey that are kind of doing this fucking shit. From your perspective, how did that all come together? When did you find each other? Because it was mainly you and Jason at first, or Blitzkid and Jason at first coming together.
Yeah.
Explain to me how that all happened.
Well, back in 2001, kids.
It's probably earlier
No,
than that, man.
gather around, children. No, in 2001, we had just put out "Let Flowers Die," and that was starting to gain traction over the internet at the time because of things like Napster and Kazaa and Audio Galaxy and all these
I was
file
all over
sharing.
Napster and Kazaa, dude.
Yeah,
Kazaa
man.
more so.
LimeWire.
Yeah, I was going for it.
So, and the great thing is I found Mr. Monster on Napster. I found the song Resident Evil on Napster, and I'm like, who's this band? And then like, I guess the same trajectory for them. People were finding out about them via the internet, via Napster, and mp3.com was another thing.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so people were finding out about us and them simultaneously, I guess. And then this guy named Matt Pathetic wanted to book us for Ghouls Night Out, and the first Ghouls Night Out in Spartanburg, South Carolina in August of 2001. And we said, absolutely, we'll do it, because at the time, we were still just kind of doing regional gigs. We weren't really, touring all over just yet. We were just kind of doing, weekend warrior type stuff, or 4 or 5 days here and there. And, with the bill being, as it was at the time, this is before even, the Graves Web of Dharma era, stuff had come out. Graves was just going to do a solo set, I guess, at that point. So he was on the bill. He was going to headline. Dr. Chud was going to be on the bill as well.
Right.
And it was the Serpentines. God, who else, man? I think at one point Erie Lane from Texas were going to be on the bill, but they had to drop off.
Was it Matt the one that was trying to pull all these things together? Was it like
yeah?
Okay.
Yeah. So and I guess through a couple other bands not being available, like I think it was because Matt was already aware of Psychocharger and Mr. Monster. They were on the bill, and at that point, Benny Ackerman had found us online, had struck up a friendship with us, and at that point he had sent me, because through talking to him, online or whatever, he had sent me the Mr. Monster, All My Monsters demo on cassette, and so cut to like 2-3 months of Ghouls and I riding around in the car, like listening to Mr. Monster, going, dude, this is awesome. These guys are kind of doing the same thing we are. And they're from New Jersey, because you guys got to remember, around this time, 2001, there was, the new Misfits, as it were. There was us, there were the Manimals, and there was Erie Lane, and that's it.
Right.
And we didn't know of anyone else doing it. And then, we found out about Mr. Monster, and so Jason actually took it upon himself to email us at the time, and because when there was announced that they were playing, and we were sharing the bill with them, Jason actually got in touch with us and was like, "Hey, man," he was like, "I love your guys' music, man." He was like, "It's so cool." He's like, in a typical Jason fashion, Jason was never one to mince words. He was like, "I thought it was gonna, when I heard you guys' band name, I thought it was gonna be like these bunch of like pop punk kids wearing backpacks." He's like, "But nah, man." He was like, "You guys sound a lot like us," or vice versa. He was like, "It's cool, man." He was like, "Can't wait to play with you." So, and at the time, you couldn't creep someone's Facebook profile and IM them. You had to like email them back, or you had to find their contact information on AIM.
Yeah, you couldn't just drop a line on a status or nothing like.
Yeah. So I looked at the email address, and so I got Jason's AIM screen name.
What was his AIM name? Do you remember? It was like something kid.
Yeah.
I forget. Anyway, keep going.
I remember his away status was always Night Train lyrics.
Right.
West Coast strutting, one bad mother.
Yep.
Got a rattlesnake suitcase under my arm. But no, so we started talking. We started talking on AIM, and then through that,
the Disco Kid.
Yes, I think so. Something like that.
Well, that was one of them at least at some point.
It was. It absolutely was. It absolutely was. So we started talking on that like all the time, and we just became, kind of virtual friends before we met one another. And then, he and Goolsby started talking as well online, and which, then JV wanted in on the action and wanted to talk to us and meet us, because I guess he had heard us through Jason and liked us as well. Right. And so we all four just kind of started talking, online, and it just became kind of, like I said, virtual friends before we even met one another. And then we played with them that night, in Spartanburg, South Carolina, at Uncle Doctor's for the first Ghouls Night Out. And dude, it was like we were made to like be bands together.
Right.
Like, we got along with them because we were like all around the same age, and we had, even though they're from Jersey, we're from Virginia, West Virginia, we all had similar senses of humor. And it was just like we clicked immediately. And from that point on, I don't think for the next 3-4 years there was nothing that we did that they didn't piggyback off of, because we wanted to, because we like traveling and hanging out with them so much. There was nothing that they did that we didn't piggyback off of because they wanted us to, because for the same reasons. So it just became like, I think JV said it one time, it just became like one big weird incestuous band.
Yeah.
Because
that's the story of me and Joe's life. It's just been like a cycle. It's the same dudes but different bands of different genres. Like, it just doesn't even make sense sometimes. Right.
It always kind of comes back around to the same, 4 or 5 people. So yeah, it was really cool. We played Ghouls Night Out with them, hit it off, became like instant best friends with them. And a funny story though, you've probably heard it. I don't know if anyone that's going to watch this has heard it, but when we met the guys from Mr. Monster, my girlfriend at the time, we were driving around one time, we listened to the song Gore Horror.
Right.
And she's like, is he saying bat fuck or butt fuck? Right. So I decide, I'm going to ask Jason when I see him. So they're sitting at their merch table after the gig. I'm like, hey man, we probably sounded like such friggin' idiot hayseed rednecks to them at the time, because we were like, hey man,
I love that voice when you guys do. Hey man, are you saying bat fuck? Or are you saying butt fuck?
That's exactly what I said. And like, he's just like, bat fuck, like super like that's insulting. How dare you? Kind of
thing. His face when he's saying it back to you, like in that Jason way, like,
dude, he straight up was just like, bat fuck. I just kind of kept the eyebrow, like, and I'm like, oh shit,
right.
I made him mad. So yeah, that was one of our first her moments with Mr. Monster. But yeah, from that point on, we became great friends, and this was in August 2001.
Right. Was Crypt Keeper part of this yet, or no?
Not yet. Crypt Keeper played the next Ghouls Night Out, where we met you.
Right. But there was a tour. There was a tour, or not? I don't want to say tour, but you guys did some shows, like a string of shows before that, right? Like you and Mr. Monster together. Because I know Ed. Remember Ed? He had that crazy van that they toured in with Germs and.
Oh yeah, the big red van. Yeah. They did a weekend's worth of shows with us down here in Bluefield, Virginia, West Virginia, and I think we played either Bristol. I think it was Bristol, Tennessee, and one other place. But it was just a short weekend run, and we called it the Halloween Ain't Over Yet weekend.
Right.
Because it was like in early November. So that was the same year. That was 2001, and then cut to 2002. We decided to do a tour together, and that was the Ghost of the East Coast tour, which was which wasn't really, by standards that, we would all become used to later on.
Right.
2002, it was literally like, I think 10 days.
Yeah,
So
it was just a run of shows.
It wasn't much of a tour, so to speak, but to kind of amp it up and market it, properly, we kind of goes to the East Coast tour.
Right.
We played, we played like 4 or 5 shows in Florida with the Green Goblin Project. We played New Orleans. We played a couple shows in Texas. And I think we came back up through and played in back at Bristol, Tennessee, and then Bluefield, and then a couple weeks, not a couple weeks, but a couple months after that, we played Brooklyn. We played the WFMU show in Hoboken. And then the next night we played with Mr. Monster at Connections. So a couple months after that tour, we did like another weekend's worth of shows. We came up to their neck of the woods that time. So that was the first time we ever got stiffed by a promoter.
Which one? Which show?
Oh, dude, I don't know. Oh, the Brooklyn show.
The Brooklyn show?
Because they were doing the which band are you here to see thing at the door.
Right. Right, and then the local got everything.
Oh, yeah. And mind you, I had talked to the lady over the phone at the time because, there again, 2002, people still called and, people still called one another on the phone to, get stuff like that ironed out. We agreed on us getting 150 because we were the out of town band. We needed gas money to get back, blah, blah, blah. So, age-old story. Oh, well, I can't pay you guys anything. Nobody said they were here to see you. What are you talking about? I was like, you promised me that you would at least get us $150 over the phone. It's a verbal contract.
Right.
And she's like, well, if nobody said they were here to see you, then I can't pay you anything. And I'm like, why not? We're 12 hours from home.
Right.
So
yeah, I've been there and done it, man. It's just like at some point you just got to throw your hands up, like this is a no-win situation right now.
Yeah.
And I gotta walk away. We got ourselves in trouble on one of the Gotham Road tours in the Dixie Tavern in New Orleans, where
I think that's where we played New Orleans. Actually, we played with a band called. See if you remember this name. We played with a band called Antarctica versus the World.
Yeah.
You remember them?
Yeah. So we were at Dixie.
Carla Devil.
Yeah, we were at Dixie Tavern. The guy, it was a very poorly attended show. The guy, I guess he didn't make enough money. He wanted to pay us in cocaine. Like he's like, listen, guys. He walks outside. And he's like, me and Michael's like, come follow me upstairs. We gotta talk about payment or whatever. And we're like, all right, here we go. And so we follow this guy into his apartment. We're like, something shady's about to go down. We sit down upstairs, and he offers us like the amount that he owes us, but in cocaine. And we're like, yo, cocaine ain't gonna go in the gas tank. Like, I'm not about to go take your cocaine and sell it on the street to make money to put fucking food in our stomach and fucking gas. And like, we need fucking money, motherfucker.
Yeah, dude.
And so the guy's like, all right. I was just seeing. And he walks back down. He's like, I'll see what I can get from the bar. See what we made from the bar tonight. So he goes into the bar, pretends he's on the register, and he calls a bunch of his fucking thug friends. And, dude, like, not even 2 minutes of him being in and trying to pretend that he's trying to get money, like a pickup truck full of people, like in the bed, in the car. Like, it was just like, it felt like there were 10 people hanging out of this pickup truck. It was probably more like 5. But
ready to rumble.
And they were ready to rumble. And the guy, they had guns. They fucking were ready to fight. They were like, the whole deal. They lift their shirt up. Here's my fucking gun. What are you going to do? And we were like, we're not going to do nothing.
Right.
We walk away.
We're going to leave. That's cool,
We're not going to.
You guys brought those for nothing. So.
Yeah.
I hear you, man. Like, we never had cocaine offered as payment, but I mean, somebody, I'll never forget, dude. We played this show in Wallingford, Connecticut, at this place called the LNG, and we were living off of what we were making on the shows at that point.
Yeah.
So as many bands do on the road, and we had a drive up to Worcester from Connecticut, which is not far. It's like 2.5 hours maybe, but mind you, this was in freaking February. So, we're in February in New England where it's like,
It's
7
cold.
feet of snow
Yeah.
is normal in one night, and this promote, I knew that the show was sketchy the minute we walked in the door because we had been talking to, and this was back in the days of MySpace. We've been talking to this guy who promoted shows up there apparently on MySpace and who had booked us once in Connecticut, and it was fine. And so we said, okay, look, we're coming through, in February for a run of New England shows, what do you think? $250 and some pizzas again? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. So a week before we go on this little jaunt, we get a message from this guy who's like, hey, I'm going to be out of town during that, blah, blah, blah. My friend, insert, chick's name here. I forget her name, but he's like, she's going to be handling the show. She helps me out all the time. So she knows the deal. She knows what you guys are expecting. And
Classic.
blah, blah, blah. Just shoot her a message, let her know everything's copacetic. And I said, okay, no problem. So we did that. But I'm thinking, man, this is a little odd, So we get there, we load in, and I know you've played these before too. Sunday night show started at 6 p.m. Guess how many bands were on the bill?
85.
9. 9 bands, all of them local, except
Almost
for us.
85.
Yeah, almost 85. 83. No. So yeah, there's 9 bands on the bill, all of them local, except for us and a band from Buffalo, New York called Liquid Violence, who are great friends of mine to this day. They're like an old school thrash kind of band, so they're awesome. But anyway, it was us and them, and we had driven from Jersey, so we had like a 2.5, 3 hour trip versus they came from Buffalo, frickin' New York,
right,
Connecticut. So, they had like 7, 8 hour drive, and I think they were going to be playing one more show on their way back up, and they were back in Buffalo somewhere. They were going to do somewhere in between Connecticut and Buffalo the next day on a Monday, which is not any better.
No.
So we get there, we load in. Like I said, there's 9 bands. There's us, Liquid Violence, are the only 2 out of town bands. They slate us to go on last. As you
You're
know,
headlining, dude. You're headlining.
Yeah, man. Right on at 3 a.m. on a Sunday.
Yeah.
When everybody's already left because all their local buddies have already played. So,
yep.
So this guy, their bar owner, I guess, comes up to me. Well, okay, let me back up a little bit. In the interim, because this show's going on so long, because there's fucking 4,000 bands, the promoter girl who had taken over the show just bolts in the middle of the show, just leaves, goes home. So, and I'm asking like, hey, have you seen, insert chick's name here? And, oh no, yeah, she left, man. And I'm like, what? I asked the door guy. I'm like, she left. I'm like, how long ago? He's like, oh, like 2 hours ago. And I'm like, awesome. We haven't even played yet.
Right.
So I'm already like, this is not gonna go well. Now, mind you, again, we had agreed upon, $250 and some pizzas, which is nothing, So at the end of the night, I go to the bar owner and I'm like, because I asked the door guy, I'm like, who do I talk to about getting paid since neither of the people that were promoting the show are here? And he's like, oh, you have to talk to the owner. I'm like, okay. So I go up to him and I calmly explain to him, what we had agreed upon with these 2 folks, and that one of them was out of town. That guy's name was Mike. I don't remember the girl's name, but one of them Mike was out of town, and the girl helping him out left. So I'm asking you, what can we do about, getting some of our money that was agreed upon? Well, how much did they agree to pay you guys? I'm like, $250. And he's like, $250. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I don't have that. I'm like, all the rest of the bands are local. Yeah, but I got to pay them. I got to pay my sound guy. And I'm like,
And you'll pay us too.
yeah. I'm like, so he literally, after much cajoling, much, hemming and hawing with this dude, he literally hands me a 20 out of the register. He's like, here, man. That's all I can do. I'm like, okay.
So shitty, man. So shitty.
So I come outside, and I'm holding up this lone, single, solitary 20.
We made it, guys.
I'm like, and you've toured with Goolsby at this point. You know how, you know this look. He's like, right? You know the look. You know the one. And I'm like,
you do it perfectly. You do it perfectly.
You know. And he's like, what is that? And I'm like, that's our $250 guarantee. And he's like, what? I'm like, no. He's like, I gotta go talk. I'm like, I'll handle it. I'll go talk to him. So I come back in. I'm like, dude, is there any way you can give us any more money? Man, I have like $4,000 a month overhead in this place. I'm like, well, then you're paying too much to run it. I'm like, and first and second of all, that's not my problem. We were promised $250.
Right.
I'm like, what are we supposed to do, bro? We have a 2.5-hour ride up to Worcester tonight. It's in the middle of a freaking snowstorm. What do you want us to do? And I'm like, have some dignity, have some decency, man. And so he's like, how much you guys DVDs? Like, we're selling those for $20. Well, here, man, let me get a DVD.
The fuck out of here.
I'm like, awesome, thanks, dude. $40, killer. Right on. So, and we're talking to the guys from Liquid Violence outside. Mind you, like I said, we have a 2.5-hour trip. We have a 2.5-hour trip. Not that big a deal. We can, use personal money if we need to get where we're going.
Right.
Which none of us had a lot, but if we had to use it, we could. We sold some merch that night, so I think around $60-$70 made. So whatever. We hopefully have enough in gas, for gas money to get to Worcester at this point. In a van, with equipment weighing it down. We have enough money, hopefully, to get to Worcester. So and I'm talking to the guys from Liquid Violence. We're saying our goodbyes to them. And I asked their guitar player / singer Bailey. I'm like, dude, like that guy gave us $20 from the door, and he goes, oh yeah, he was like, you got paid more than us, man. I said, yeah, we got paid 16.
So brutal.
And I was like, oh my god, dude.
So you see, guys, this is the glamorous life we've been living.
This is what it's like to be on tour, kids.
20 years. This is what you got to deal with, There's at some point there's a level you get to where you'll deal with this less and less, but when you're fucking cutting your teeth and you're an underground band, this is a regular fucking occurrence.
It's daily, almost daily, man, and it's just so
fighting with
frustrating
someone to get more money.
You love what you're doing, but you're literally treated and paid like you're less than human.
Yeah, you are less than human. Yeah.
That's just a band, whatever, man. They ain't got to eat. They ain't got to sleep nowhere. Road dogs, man. They'll just sleep on the road, whatever. They get drunk, they pass out, they're sleeping. It's fine.
So,
it's not like that, though.
You meet Mr.
It's also not like the Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses.
Right. Yeah. No, it's definitely not that.
Like
I tell people all the time, like, what you see and envision and, like, what the 80s bands were doing is... It's not that. It's not a party. It's not this fucking backstage fucking blow jobs in the bathroom, fucking doing rails off girls' asses. None of that is happening. Okay? It's fucking maybe eat some pizza off the floor, fucking get paid $20 like he's saying, $16. It's fucking hard, man. In a fucking in a van with fucking 4 or 5 other smelly dudes that haven't showered in a month, fucking just like eating fucking granola just to get by.
Yep, dude. That it's funny because that same summer, I hate to think what Blitzkid's sodium levels were that summer because of 2006, because we were on tour, dude, from April the 7th, or I'm sorry, April the 29th until September the 7th of that year of 2006. 2006 alone, guys, Blitzkid played 265 shows.
Yeah.
So we had 100 days at home, which is a little less than 4 months.
Right.
So the rest of the time we were on the road. So spring of '06 into summer of '06, early fall of '06, we're on tour. That summer, Taco Bell released the cheesy bean and rice burrito for 89 cents.
Was that the go-to?
Let me tell you. I ate so many cheesy bean and rice burritos that summer. I think all of us did. That I literally didn't eat it for like a year afterward. I didn't eat at Taco Bell for at least a good year afterward. I'm like, I'm done right now, dude, with Taco Bell. So that's the thing about Taco Bell, man. They're well, not so much now, but back then, 14 years ago, they were still kind of cheap and they were kind of band friendly. If you're on the road,
you could get a bunch of stuff for 99 cents each. You know what I mean? You could build a nice meal for $5.
Absolutely.
Fucking
dude, that reminds me of the Ghost of the East Coast tour in '02 that we did with Mr. Monster. That summer, Denny's were having their grand slams for $2.99.
That's what I want to talk about.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Guess what we were doing?
I would have one meal a day when I was doing my Graves tours. I was teching for Tom, and I would go. They used to have a sandwich called the Dagwood.
Yeah,
it was the ultimate breakfast sandwich, and that was my one meal a day. It was just a fucking gigantic. It had every meat. It had like 3 cheeses, like a pound of scrambled eggs. It was fucking amazing. It was an amazing sandwich. That was I lived off of Dagwoods on our tours.
Because they were probably like $3.99, $4.99 at the time. So it's like who could pass that up? So fledgling bands. I don't know if they still do this, but back in 2012, when Blitzkid was doing our last couple of tours, all across and JV can vouch for this too. All across the United States, we would find the nearest Walmart, like close to the town, we would be traveling to. Find the nearest Walmart. We go into their produce/deli area where they have all the prepared foods and the hot meals and whatever. You could get a meat and 2 sides for $3.99. So that summer, it was all about Walmart. Carry out meals. So.
We were doing that in Darrow for a little while, and we got in trouble because our drummer was he just loved stealing shit. He was a kleptomaniac. He was just like, it's not because he didn't have the money to spend $5 to get a meal. No, he had to walk out with it for free.
To do it, yeah.
So we got pulled over one time, like, let me see your receipts, and everyone's like, imagine, he was just like, I don't do nothing. But it was just consistently every day, like, he just needed to steal something. He's like, look what I got. I'm like, no,
that's
dude.
That's so funny. Right, like, we're gonna get pulled over.
Yeah,
sure enough.
And you're already looking like sketchy dudes because like a lot of the times we were sleeping in the Walmart parking lots, because it was a big empty lot. You get left alone. It's like a truck stop almost. You treat it like a truck stop, and they were looking sketchy as fuck because they would take their backpacks to like freshen up in the bathroom of the Walmart, and it just looks like they were about to steal a whole bunch of shit. Going to the bathroom with their backpacks, you know what I mean? Like, and we look how we look, Joe's walking in with tattoos, fucking cigarette, like, like, of course, we're going to run into some trouble.
Especially down south.
Yeah.
You boys ain't from around here, are you?
Well.
God damn, y'all in a band?
Y'all in a band? Yeah. We used to say
rodeo
we were wrestlers a lot. We were wrestlers.
Yeah. We were rodeo clowns. we would say rodeo clown.
The best one we got was, y'all in body bag? We're like, yes.
Body bag?
Yes, we are.
We are. We're playing the Civic Center down the street. But yeah, so that's literally how, Mr. Monster and us kind of convened, and from there, I met you the next year at Ghouls Night Out too with Mr. Monster and everybody. We played, and because you were teching, as you said, for Tom from Graves for the Web of Dharma thing at the time, and you got up on stage and played a couple songs with Mr. Monster that night.
Right.
And subsequently got in a fight earlier in the day.
Way earlier in the day. It was like, and it was during Crypt Keeper's set, no? Was that Crypt Keeper? I believe it was Crypt Keeper, right?
It was, okay. Yeah, because the kid that started all the ruckus was, "Hey man, play something we can mosh to."
That's right. Play something we can mosh to.
Yep. And they went into one of their faster songs, and Pit breaks out, and next thing I know, our drummer at the time, Billy Bones, is like throwing down with this kid, and I look over and JV comes in with his orange work shirt on, and he starts throwing hands, and then you come over and you just like tackle this poor kid.
This is what I see. This is from my point of view. Joe is like a puppy that hasn't grown into his feet yet. He walks over and he's trying to throw a punch, and he's just constantly falling. He's just falling over and over again. Like, he throws a punch, he's on the ground. He throws another punch, he's falling on the ground again. And I'm like, I gotta go over there. I can't just fucking watch this. Like, because then there was a crowd. Like, the dude's friends were coming over, and like it was just starting to be a little unfair. And I run over there, dude, and I'll never forget Joe. The image in my head is just Joe falling all the time. But so I grabbed this dude by the collar of his shirt, and I do like a football drill where I just pick him up by his shoulders a little bit and throw and drive him a good 10 to 15 feet into the stage, into the monitor. Just fucking smash him into there. And as this is happening, and there's video footage of this, which is brilliant. I love that there's video footage of this, so people know I'm not full of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Behind me is his friend, and his friend's running after me like, he goes to throw a punch, and I fucking duck under the punch, and he ends up falling into his own friend.
Yep.
And then we square off, and nothing happens or whatever. But, yeah, that was the first time meeting you guys.
Yeah. We're like, well, okay, that's Carlos. All right, cool.
Right.
So, and there have been many nights where you have been involved, if you remember correctly. Jog your memory on this.
With Crypt Keeper, too.
Yeah. With Crypt Keeper 5. I don't know what it was about us and you and Crypt Keeper 5 being in the same room, but trouble just kind of occurred. And this one was over a lightsaber.
It was. It's all Jimmy's fault probably, because he's a real piece of shit, that guy. So, but I'll tell you what, I ain't gonna give up on him.
Yeah, there's hope for him, man.
I forget whose lightsaber it was.
I think it was Jimmy Ray's.
Was it? So he Crypt Keeper's kind of like parading around with this lightsaber. It was really cool. It made all the noises. The light, it was awesome. It
looked pretty authentic.
It was a great lightsaber. And they're like parading around all fucking night with it. It did its turn. Everyone's held it. Whatever. The show's over. Bands are packing up. And it was just a bunch of fans, right? It was like a couple of kids that were at the show.
It was a bunch of guys that I guess worked at a tattoo place in Orange, New Jersey, that had come to see the show with that were friends with what's her name, Drea.
Right.
Chick that married Matt.
Yeah.
So they were friends with her, and she was there, and I guess like as those dudes were driving away, they thought it was funny to grab one of them. Literally jumped out of the car and grabbed the lightsaber from Jimmy.
Yeah.
And I just remember Johnny coming up to me and you because we were outside talking, and Johnny just like, "Hey man, those guys just stole our lightsaber." And I'll never forget, dude. They were like less than a block away. I just remember I came outside, and you're like fucking Robert Patrick, like Terminator, running after this car, and you jumped on the hood of the car.
Well, it gets better. So they got away, and I ran to my car.
Yes.
I fucking got into my car, and I see someone also running, like chasing them, like the lightsabers. They stole it. I'm like, it might have been Jimmy, but it might have been the other kid that was still in Crypt Keeper at the time. I'm like, hey, man, get in the car. And fucking dude, man, jumps into my car, and I run every red light. I'm passing cars on the opposite side of the fucking road, And I catch up to these motherfuckers near the police station on Van Houten Ave in Clifton. And I
My God.
go around them, slam on my brake, and cut them off where, like, they can't go further anymore. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
we
You
stop.
gotta
These
block
kids
it.
are like, what the fuck is happening right now? They're all just like, and the kid who has the lightsaber is in the back seat right now, and like their faces, he was just in the back like holding it like, and I'm like, I get out of the car like hard as fuck. I'm like, give me the fucking lightsaber. So ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. And this is a night after like drinking and a show and like whatever. I'm like, give me the fucking lightsaber. The kid opens up his window, like just enough space to hand a lightsaber out the window. He's like, he starts handing it through the hole. And I take it and I start pulling it out and he lets go of it and I smash him in the face with it a couple of times. Like, just smash him. I'm like, take fucking lightsaber to the grill, bro.
Oh.
And then I fucking walk off with it, get back into my car with Jimmy, drive back down to fucking Connections, and like just holding it up. I'm like,
Yep.
and everyone's
Victoria.
like, what? What just happened? You got the lightsaber back? Ridiculous.
So random. So random. I'm like, first of all, like, why would you be compelled to take a dude's lightsaber? Like, what's it? And granted, like you said, there's probably, alcohol or something involved in such decision making. But like, why would you think to go? I'm gonna grab take that guy's lightsaber.
Right.
Like.
Well, they
I
thought
don't
they were
get it.
gonna have a good story to tell. Like, fucking. I walked up to this guy, said, "Let me see it," and then I took off with it. And now it's, it was gonna be a good story for them that night, but it ended up not being a very good story for them.
I guarantee you, if any of those guys still hang out together, the two or three guys that did not get bopped in the face with the lightsaber are like, yo, remember that time you got hit in the face with a lightsaber?
Because there was two guys in the front, the driver and the passenger were in the front, and this poor kid in the back seat's just like, here, please take it. He got hit hard too. It wasn't light.
You don't take another man's lightsaber. You'll take another man's lightsaber.
Yeah, I walked back. It was a rousing ovation from whoever was still left at the fucking Connections. It was like, yeah, I can't believe it.
I remember it felt like the the Return of the Jedi music should be playing because you just came down the street and you're holding it up. And I was like, this is my life right now.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Fucking ridiculous, dude. So yeah, there must be like something with me and Crypt Keeper where things like that keep happening.
It's the Loki and Crypt Keeper aesthetic.
Yeah.
Causes trouble wherever it goes.
Who played that? These were good shows that we were having, right? Because it was Polly, Crypt Keeper, you guys, and Mr. Monster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly who it was. I want to say around that time. No, that was after. I know that band Mr. Stoops had played with us a couple of times at Connections as well. If you remember them.
Yep.
They had Jason sing on one of their tunes on their CD they released or whatever. That was way back in the day. But I remember going on after that Ghost of the East Coast tour with Mr. Monster. We went on the In the Graveyard radio show with Drew Blood there, but yeah, man, Mr. Monster from 2001 until around 2005, 2006, we were always just kind of, you scratch our backs, we'll scratch yours, always just kind of just, intermingling together as much as we could, helping each other out. It was cool.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that it was kind of like, not that we're, comparable to either one of these bands, but, back in the day, you always heard about, the Misfits and Black Flag always helping one another out.
Right.
It was kind of one of those things, kind of just, like-minded dudes in each band just trying to help each other out. It's cool. I wish it was still like that.
Through the years, I've yelled at you to play different songs through each era of Blitzkid. And do you remember what it was back then?
He dominates back then.
Yeah. You're like, why does this kid want me to sing a song about me fucking getting whipped and fucking getting whipped and gagged.
Yeah, to each their own, my friend. To each their own.
Yeah, I would just she dominates, and finally it got to the point where like for Loki, we're gonna play this song.
Yep. Every time I'd be like, all right, so he doesn't start screaming it again. We're gonna play this one for Loki.
And that eventually became Lady in the Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you remember correctly, on at that last Ghouls Night Out we did, the last U.S. Blitzkid show,
right?
You got up and sang background vocals.
I actually threatened you. I'm like, it's your last show. If you don't play this song, because it wasn't in your. That's right. You showed me the set list, and it was not on the set list.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm like, yo, no.
His exact words, guys, were, "Listen, it's your last show." Hang on. Let me see if I can do my best Loki here. Hang on. Okay. Listen, it's your last U.S. show. If you guys don't play Lady in the Lake tonight, I'm gonna fucking kill you. So I was like, all right, we should probably play Lady in the Lake tonight. And so we did. And
you guys got a European tour
sang.
coming up. If you want to play in Europe, you're going to play this fucking song at this show.
Dude, it was funny because the reason why, if you remember correctly, like especially around 05, 06, you'd see us play, and you were still on your She Dominates trip at that point. But it was so funny because every time you'd yell that song, it always made me think about when we'd be in Europe, because every night in Europe, no matter where we were, a little bit of a lull in the crowd noise between songs, and
right.
You hear like lone like German dude like "She dominates," right? So, and I'm like, all right,
I figured out that I have a very European spirit. Now that I've been all over, the air over there, I get along with people good over there. I have a very European spirit.
Same. I do as well. I think it's just a more, the biggest thing that I notice over there is people are just so nice and so polite, and they just like to have fun. And they just love music, and as long as you can just carry on a decent conversation, man, you're good.
Yeah.
They're like that's all they want. They don't. There's no pretense with any of those people. Like how sometimes over here, especially in the scene that we're involved in, predominantly, over here people kind of act like they're too cool for school, and they're wearing their horror rock vest at every show they go to, and it's like, right. Dude, come on, you're a person. Stop. Just meet me there. Meet me at person level, and we're good. And I think that's kind of the way it is with a lot of people over in Europe too. They don't look at they admire your art, they admire your music, and they're fans of what you do, but they don't have like any pretense of like, oh, this is some untouchable artist. No, they just want to chill with you and hang out with you, and look, be cool and be people with you. That's awesome. That's
the part that I love about it most, because I am that dude that wants to go out and fucking talk to everyone, go to the bar after the show and fucking, so.
The only time I get a little aggravated is when, and this is just not strictly for Europeans either, but, the only time I get a little aggravated is when someone is clearly just drunk and they don't know what to say to you because their faculties are just gone, but it's like, it takes like forever. You're just like, yeah. Right. And in Europe, dude, especially, and I know you've dealt with this as well, especially over in Germany. I'm sorry, I'm very drunken tonight.
I'm very sorry, my English not so good. You're doing
my
great,
not
bro.
So good. Yeah, I love it. I love it when they're just like so passionately trying to explain to you what they mean, and they end up they just go, fuck.
Let's do a shot. Let's do a shot.
Yeah, I'm like, cool. Let's have a.
I've been on both ends of that conversation. I've been the musician getting off stage, getting that. I've also been like, I saw Bouncing Souls here in Nashville one year, and I just got like, I don't go to see concerts often. I'm usually on tour, but even then, I really just don't go out often as it is when I'm home. See the Bouncing Souls. They're playing at Exit Inn, which is a really small venue. And
right there.
by the end of the night, I'm just shit faced, and I'm just like, think I saw the singer. It could have been the guitar. I'm just like, New fucking Jersey, man, and like I was just couldn't say anything else but New Jersey.
Yep. Dude,
Fucking New Jersey. Fuck this Nashville shit. And like everyone else around us is from Nashville.
Right. Yeah, and they're like, "What the fuck you talking about, man? Come on, man." No, there was a time when we played in Bamberg, Germany, where I was literally everything that could have gone. You know, to make a long story short, literally everything that could have gone wrong during the show did. I broke 2 guitar strings. Stripes broke a drum pedal. You know, broke his bass drum pedal. Cracked a cymbal. You know, Goolsby's bass went out a couple times. Like it was just, you know, night of the technical disaster. Right. And you know, Stripes and I are both like super like bummed afterward. And for whatever reason around this time, this was in 2007. Whatever reason around this time, Blitzkid was getting a 5th of Jägermeister on our rider back then. Right. And you know, and the show was an early show, but because there was what as you probably dealt with as well over in you know, Germany, Austria, sometimes the shows will wrap up kind of early, like 9-10 o'clock at night, and then they'll have they'll have like, you know, a dance party kind of thing going on where they just start playing music, and people that are from the show that were there to see the show, they just kind of hang out, everybody just kind of dances, everybody drinks, and everybody just has a good time. This happened at this show, so that we weren't going to be leaving right away. So in the interim, though, Stripes and I proceeded to like down this 5th of Jägermeister between the 2 of us, and like I'm not gonna throw him under the bus. And, you know, let's just say he was really drunk.
Right.
I too was really drunk, but you know, I don't know if you've ever seen me super drunk, but you know, those that have can vouch for, you know. If I get like super drunk and I'm super happy drunk, like then I have this, like there could be a, you know, level 9, you know, tornado going on around me, and I'm just like, man, it's cool, everybody's just having a good time, dude, it's awesome, you know, I'm that guy. So mind you, you know, we're both in no shape to load out. You know, Stripes is literally slumped over in the corner in a chair, like just gone, and I'm just having the time of my life. I'm just drunk and I'm happy and everything's awesome. And like Ghouls comes downstairs, is like, "Hey man, we gotta load out." I'm like, "That's cool, man." You know, and he's like, "What the hell? What's going on with Stripes, man? Like, what's wrong with him?" You know? And I'm like, "He's just drunk, man. He's just having a good time, man. What's going on? Everything's cool, you know, right?" So he literally has to carry Stripes up the steps, you know, because Stripes is literally immovable on his own at that point. So, mind you, you know, there had been some, you know, liquid spilled or something on the floor at some point. So as he's carrying Stripes up the stairs, he slips and like hurts his knee. So basically, and again, you know, and he's like, and I don't blame him. Like, you know, I don't blame him at all. We totally dropped the ball. We should have, you know, just been ready to load out and just been straight and, you know, ready to go, because we had a crappy night anyway. But because we had a crappy night, we decided
we've all been there. It's just one of those nights.
You know? Yeah, man. And you know, so but because we had a crappy night, we both decided we were going to get hammered. Just forget about it. And I just remember him telling me, like, you know, a couple days later, he's like, "Dude, I was so furious with you guys because, you know, Stripes is like just immovable and like just gone, and you're just like, there's like chaos, and you know, I'm like, God, I'm gonna have to let out the gear by myself." And he said, "Dude, you were making me even madder because you're so drunk that like everything was awesome in your mind, and you're just like, man, she's cool. What's going on? Wait, it's so mad, man. It's fine. Everybody's just having a good time, man. Calm down, you know." And he's like, I was so mad at you guys. And so I cut to us getting to the. So I was totally, you know, long story short, I was totally that guy that night with people at this venue, because I'm just like, you know, and they're just like, right on, you know. And but yeah, so again, long story short, cut to where we were staying. I had one of those big like liter bottles of, you know, seltzer water that they have in Germany, and I drank it, but And like our tour manager was super pissed at both of us too. So, you know, mind you, I'm starting to sober up a little bit, but I'm at that point where I've drank so much where the van just kind of starts going like this, you know, and I feel it, you know, I feel it coming. So, dude, I see my tour manager, Dolores, coming down the steps of the place we're staying to come get us, be like, yeah, everything's set up, we're cool, come on in. So, and I'm ready to like,
damn, you're ready.
chuck. I'm ready to chuck. So I have this little water bottle, dude, with an opening that's about maybe that big, right? And I'm like, I feel it coming, and I'm just like, right? So as best I could, because I didn't want to get yelled at anymore. You know, I had totally dropped the ball and been, you know, bad rocker guy that night.
Did you get it all in there?
Almost. There was a little bit on my shirt that she asked me about, and no, just food.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, like as soon as she got to the door, I was like closing up the cap because I had just like finished, and she's like, "Did you throw up?" And I'm like, "Did you get sick?" And I'm like, "No. What do you mean?" I said, "No, it's just what's on your shirt." And I'm like, "Oh, it's just food." You know. And she's just like, you know, so whatever. Yeah, I was definitely the loud, you know, incoherent guy that night, and a few other times as well.
One of the perks of being the acting tour manager of mostly all my tours is that no one's gonna yell at me except for maybe one person.
You're in charge,
right? Dude, there were
nights... I won't give you the route for tomorrow. How's that?
Right. There were nights in Europe that, like, I'm surprised I made it back to the fucking bus. Because they would park at like an Asda or wherever the fuck they wanted to park if we weren't staying at a hotel.
Right.
And they'd like drop a pin on the WhatsApp, like here's where we are. And like there were nights where I would take basically anyone responsible in the band except for Michael, like. He always never hung out. He was always in the bus.
Yeah.
But I would take the sound guy. I would take Howie. I would take anyone who, like, no, we're going out. We're fucking doing stuff.
Right.
And, like, somehow, some way, we always found a way back to the bus. And some nights I was just like, how'd we get back here? We would fucking
I don't remember
take
the bus being here.
Electric scooter rides back to the bus. Fucking Ubers where they had Ubers. They would, you know.
Right. Oh man,
crazy.
Yeah, there were definitely some nights like that for us too. You know, not as much because you know, at various points throughout, you know, Blitzkid's career, you know, Ghouls never did anything like that. Ghouls has never partied, you know, and that's fine, you know, and I think he's a better performer for it. But you know, every now and then, you know, me and, you know, whatever drummer, you know, we tie one on and get a little crazy and, you know, disastrous consequences, but nothing crazy. So that goes back to what we were saying earlier too about how everybody thinks it's like, you know, Motley Crue, GNR kind of stuff on the road. It's not, man. And when it's not, and when it is, you pay for it dearly.
You pay for it, yeah.
Whether physically or financially, the next day you pay for it. You know, so it's nothing that any underground touring band, if they do it, you know, there's a reason why they don't last long typically.
Right.
But bro, my phone is about to die.
Yeah,
so,
we're heading on 2 hours. Is there anything that you want a website you want to push? Anything that's coming up that you want to just say real quick before we shut off the
show? Yeah, man. Today, A Gathering of None, we just released our own hot sauce, our own limited run of hot sauce. It's the Give Up the
fancy.
Ghost Pepper hot sauce.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can get that on gatheringofnone.bigcartel.com. What else we got going on? The Atomic Wolf thing just came out recently with me and Johnny B. Morbid.
Nice.
Carmen from Johnny B. Morbid, I should say, and KT. We are going to be putting the finishing touches on the Gathering of None, Purging Empty Promises EP, expanded edition, which is going to have like remixes and demo versions, stuff like that.
How many remixes? Because you have like a lot of.
Yeah, no, it's not going to be like done by like, you know, DJ
right.
Whipwreck or nothing like that. But
well, I'm out then.
Yeah, yeah, they're just gonna be, they'll be the original mixes from the EP, and then Justin's gonna take the songs and
Cool.
do a new mix of them. We're still waiting to get the files for that and whatnot, but yeah, that'll come out probably in the next couple of months too. So if you guys want to check out my Patreon, it's patreon.com/TB, all TB all the time. I do videos. I do cover songs.
All TB all the time.
All TB all the time, baby. Yeah, man.
Right on. I love it.
Because somebody joked that I should do an OnlyFans, so I was like, if I name it provocatively enough, then maybe it'll
all
draw
TB all the time.
all TB all the time. Yeah, I'm gonna do some Joel Gertner type, shirtless with bow tie and stuff like that. No,
Awesome, Tracy.
No, but I do videos. I do videos, on there of songs from my catalog, be it Blitzkid, Vagora, The Automatons, The Gathering of None. I give guitar lessons on there. I do cooking. If people want, to watch me cook up a dish and give them the recipe as I'm cooking it, I'll do that. Also, there is, if you guys, I have a cloud folder that has now 32 songs. If you guys want all of those, get in touch with me, DM me on, Facebook or Instagram, and we'll discuss the details. I don't charge a lot for them. It's 32 songs for $100. So, and I teach you how to play all of them through videos.
That's badass.
Yeah, man. And thank you to everyone who has purchased any of these things from me. I really appreciate it. It's literally helping me keep my lights on and helping me put food on the table. So
yeah, man. Speaking as someone else in that position as well, and anything that you guys contribute to any of us is fucking helps, man. Like this is our livelihood, and it's kind of been taken away from us. You plan to be on tour almost this whole year. That's a lot of fucking income, and it's just fucking taken right out from under our feet through no fault of our own, through no fault of anyone. So anything that you guys can fucking contribute, if you can, is fucking much appreciated.
It is. And, the fact that you guys, are willing to do that for us right now is awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy because, I don't know how it is down in Nashville where you are, but, jobs, especially in this area, jobs ain't easy to come by.
Yeah.
And if they are, they're like fast food jobs or they're, retail. And I'm not saying I'm above that stuff. I'm not. I've done it, and I'll probably do it again.
A lot of times they just don't. They won't want you because they think you're going to want too much money. That you're not going to work hard. Like guys our age, it's hard to get anything.
We're aging out of the workforce, man.
Yeah, man.
Music's all we got, guys. Come on.
Come on. Tracy,
come on, man.
I appreciate you spending fucking 2 hours of your day with me. It was fun.
I loved it.
Fucking, we need to do a different kind of episode where we play a little more guitar. So maybe next time we'll work something out where we do a little something.
Yeah. I got my mouth running and we forgot all about that part. So.
Right.
Tends to happen.
Bro, I appreciate you.
If I keep talking, I won't have to play guitar. No.
Right. I appreciate you, brother. Everyone, thank you. I'm sorry that this wasn't live. Next time it will be because my modem has arrived. I got the email. But this will be uploaded in a couple of hours. So thank you for joining us on Talkin Brash. I have my own show. It's stupid.
Talkin Brash sounds like it'd be an old ECW segment.
Right. I love it. A lot of people say I look like Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah. Gonna do that.
Right. Peace out, guys. Thank you.